Have you ever thought how you would be if you were born in another family that is not yours? Have you ever thought of how it would be if you were born in Kuala Lumpur, for instance? Or how would you be if you were born in Moscow? Or how would you be if you were born in Lima, in Melbourne? Have you ever thought how different you would be if you had been born in any of those cities? Imagine that you were not born in Terrassa, you were not born in Matadepera, St. Kitts, and you were born, for instance, in one of those cities. How would you be? Let's go further. Let's imagine that you are born in Terrassa, in St. Kitts, in Matadepera, and then you are also born in Kuala Lumpur. So there are two individuals of you in the world with the same genes, the same DNA, but one being born in Terrassa, the other one being born in Kuala Lumpur. Would you be the same? Would you grow equally? Would you have the same opinions, the same interests? Would you have the same knowledge? Would you speak the same language? Would you have the same height or weight? Let me respond these questions for you. And the response is no. You would be different. You would be the same individual with the same DNA, but two different persons. Totally different persons. Why is that? This is because we are the product, the result of the context. We are the result and the product of the education we receive, the interaction with other people, the education we receive at home, the education we receive in college, in school. We are the result of the books we read, we are the result of the movies we watch, we are the result and the product of the sport we play, or the games we play as well. We are the result of all our experiences, conversations. And the contrary is also true. We are the result of the books we do not read, and we are the result of the conversation we have, or the experiences we avoid. And we are also the result of the hours spent on Fortnite or watching your favorite YouTube guys, YouTube influencers. We are the result of all this. And you are 15 now, which is a nice age, very nice age. I'm sure you're enjoying it. And at the same time, you're also having some moments in which you find some trouble and you feel a bit of discomfort. Because you have left behind boyhood and you are transitioning into adulthood. And this transition is like a tectonic plates clash from boyhood to adulthood. You are 15 and now you have grown your own opinions, and now you have grown your character, and on many occasions you want to contrast your opinions with other people. You also discuss, you want to take your decisions, and on many occasions you want to judge others, particularly your parents. And this is good. This is good, this is the way it has to be, it's the way it has always been. And on other occasions you want to feel the security of being with your parents and being attached to them. And this is also good. We parents have a mission. We have a mission of educating you. On many occasions you find us all this a bit annoying, exhausting, tiring, because we are pushing you to work harder. We are pushing you or chasing you for homework. We want you to study more. We want you to exercise more. We want you to do many, many things. And this can be tiring and exhausting for you. But you know why we do that? We do this because we love you. We love you, and we are the ones that have this mission of educating you. And education means to take you from the current stage to a future stage in which you can be independent and have your own life, creating your own life. And we want to equip you with resources. When I say we, I mean parents, I mean your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, and very especially teachers at school. This is our mission, to educate you and allow you to grow with all the resources and be well equipped with these resources. Resources, by the way, that don't have to be material. When I talk about resources, I think of values, I think of beliefs, I think of skills, of emotional education. I think of all these things that can make you be a decent human being. This is our mission. And if we don't accomplish it, we are failing you. We are failing society. We are failing as educators. Let me share with you a story. So in 1987, there was this billionaire in the States, United States, that built this complex, this facility, Biosphere 2, which is a science research complex. They wanted to understand how we could have life in outer space. So they wanted to understand how we could live in the moon or in Mars, in outer space, how we could cultivate vegetables, how we could plant trees, how we could farm animals, how could we as human beings be in that closed ecosystem. So they built this science research facility, they plant all these trees, vegetables and so on, and after some time they saw that palm trees were growing extremely fast, very, very fast. And suddenly they collapsed, they fell down, they collapsed. And they didn't understand what was happening, and they found out why. And the reason was that the designers of this facility had forgot to include wind in the facility. There was no wind in the facility. And trees, in order to grow healthy, in order to grow strong, they need wind, because wind challenges trees. When wind comes to a tree and it compresses a tree, it's a way that the tree has to enlarge its roots and get stronger, grounded on the floor. When the wind compresses the tree bends, and the tree sends a signal to the side that is bending to reinforce the cells, what is called the wood stress. So the stem gets harder, stronger. And this is the way a tree grows healthy, strong, and capable of resisting all these heavy winds that there are in nature. You are that tree. You are that tree. And your mission now is to enlarge your roots in the ground, to strengthen your stem. So, on many occasions you might think and you say, well, what this math lesson, this French lesson, this grammar, structure, analysis, these exams, they are useless. I don't need them. This is false. Because all the effort you take for this is the way that guarantees that you are developing your roots and you are strengthening your stem. Every time you have a no, every time you have a frustration with a friend, with something that you want to attain and you cannot attain, you don't get it. You have a frustration, a disappointment. This is the moments in which you are developing your roots. When you receive a no from your parents, no going out at night, no staying late with your PlayStation. When you receive those no's, these are also means of developing roots and stem. When you are asked to go the extra mile, to put more effort in what you do, this is the moment in which you are developing your roots and your stem. In 2014, universities in the United States started to see that they were getting more weak trees in the universities. In 2014, universities started to see that the people that were joining them, students, young people that were joining university, were having unexpected and unprecedented fragility, episodes of anxiety, episodes of eating disorder, depression, in a much more degree than they had before. It is the Gen Z, which is you, people born between 1997 and 2012. This is the Gen Z. And they are getting universities in much weaker conditions. 1 in 5 girls at this age in the United States have suffered from depression or any of these disorders I was mentioning. 1 in 10 boys. And it is increasing. There are many reasons for this. There are reasons such as the overprotection of parents, the demanding status of university students in the US to have a nice career, a nice revenue, the extremely expensive cost of universities that they have to get into debt and then pay it, the attack in New York and the United States of September 11, 2001 that created a reaction of overprotection of the whole society, the financial crisis in 2008, social media, Many factors. Let me talk about two of them. One is the overprotection. And we parents are the guilty ones. We parents that are trying to avoid you from having frustrations, from avoiding you to have any kind of pain. We don't want you to suffer. So what we do is to try to get rid of these bad feelings from you. And what we are doing? We are removing the wind from the dome. We are removing the wind from the science facility I was mentioning about. So we are promoting palm trees that are not capable of resisting a breeze when the wind blows. So this is on parents' fault when we try to avoid you of this risk-taking. And you are now in the age of experimentation. Now you're in the age in which you have to take your risks, try things. Because whenever you want something, there will always be a challenge in between you and the objective. The easiest way to do is to run away and say, okay, I'm not going to do this because this challenge is unbearable. The challenge is unbearable. I will not be able to overcome the challenge. And then you're wrong if you think like that. Because the best way to overcome a challenge is to try. Because when you start working on the challenge, when you try, is when you understand the size of the challenge. This is when you start to assess how difficult it can be, what resources you need, what do you need to develop in order to overcome it. And sometimes you will fail. Eventually you will fail. Of course you will fail. But failure is totally admissible if you have done your best. You can fail if you really have tried. And in order to try, you have to work on that. So, be brave. Be brave. Do not run away from challenges. Because remember, how did you feel the first time you could go on the bicycle, you could ride a bicycle on your own with no help of your parents? Or the first time you decided what trousers you were purchasing? Or the first time you came to school on your own? How did you feel? These were things that when you were a child, you thought you could never do. And suddenly you did. And once you have done it the first time, the second time was easier. And the third time much easier. And this is something that you keep growing and growing and growing. And it's becoming easier and easier. So be brave. Try it. And you can fail, as I said. But if you try, it's nothing as a mistake. Because as this wise man said, Nelson Mandela, I never lose. I either win or learn. If you have worked on that, you never lose. You win or you learn. Let me talk now about one of the topics I was also mentioning before, which was the social media impact. This is a topic that really concerns me for the whole society, but particularly you, people your age, because you are overexposed to the social media and you don't have all the resources to deal with it. So you were born in 2005. Internet was already here. We were working on internet. But in 2007, the smartphone was launched by Steve Jobs, Apple. And suddenly, the whole digital world changed. Remember, 2005 you were born. You are the last babies generation that did not grow up with a tablet or a smartphone in your hands. After you, all kids, since babies, have been grown up with tablets and phones on their hands. And this is a mistake. Remember, Instagram was created in 2010. 10 years, just 10 years, which is 2/3 of your lifetime. 2/3 of your lifetime. But 10 years in the humanity is nothing. It's like a raindrop. And we as humans, we as society, are still learning how to cope with the digital life. We are immersed in this digital life, but we still do not know where it is going to take us and how to deal with that. And I want to talk to you about that. Because for us, digital, internet, with all the positive aspects that it has, of course, it has many positive aspects. As all human creations, we have the flip side. We have the positive and the negative. So I want to talk about the negative because we have to be warned about them. 2016 was the alarm ring for society. In 2016, suddenly we discovered that the Trump election for presidency of the United States and the Brexit referendum that removes UK from the European Union were manipulated. Were manipulated by people that could really work on social media and could target special messages to concrete people. Tailor-made messages that manipulated their mind and therefore manipulated their vote. And this is why we can say that democracy was kidnapped, was hijacked, because it was manipulated by some hidden people that manipulated the minds of society. This was at the social level. At an individual level, this digital life is also affecting the way we behave. Behind the screen, we feel protected. We feel that there is something that protects us from the face-to-face. We feel that there is a distance in space and time with the other. And we feel braver. We have more courage to do things, to say things that in face-to-face maybe we wouldn't say. It is changing our social etiquette. And we do things that maybe in face-to-face we wouldn't do. Think about that. This is not only for you, it's for the whole society, how the social media and digital life affects us. It also affects the self-esteem. Self-esteem is maybe, I wouldn't say maybe, I think for sure, the most basic trait you have to develop. You have to learn to love you. You have to develop to think of you that you're capable of doing things. This is self-esteem. And social media is on many, many aspects affecting self-esteem. So, for instance, let me read that. Social media has been linked to higher levels of loneliness, envy, anxiety, depression, narcissism, and decreased social skills. In many aspects, social media is making us worse as individuals. And Instagram is at the focus of it. Instagram is at the focus of many of these effects. Instagram is a world that is not real. Instagram is where people are showing the best of their lives, their ideal life. They're showing what is a moment, an instant of their life, to make people think that their life follows that pattern. And on many occasions it's not true. And particularly for girls, it is quite serious. It is proven that it's been motivation for many of these disorders I was mentioning, because many of the girls, boys as well, but particularly girls, are very, very sensitive to comments, or they link their self-esteem to the number of followers they have, or the number of likes they get. So be careful with that. Don't fall in that trap. Create and build your self-esteem regardless of what the others do. We live in a world of image, in which perception is the reality. We think that what we see is the reality, and we do not spend the time to deep dive and learn the insights of what we see. We just think that what we see is real, and it's not the case. Let me introduce you one of my friends in London. She's Jennifer. She is a very nice, good-looking and successful businesswoman with a girl a bit younger than you, and we meet from time to time in basically London. So we are connected on social media, and one day she posted that post, and I will read it for you. Depression. I wanted to post this for quite some time. I've been hit quite hard lately with the black dog. Black dog is the name that depression is known with. And it comes from most unexpectedly. I disappear and go silent. Everything suffers. My Instagram and other social media is full of smiling faces and fun, but there's a whole other side which I hide. So this is me. High and low, but still going. This was published the day of the mental health, this special day in which people were focused on thinking of mental health. She was brave enough, she was courageous to share her condition to the public, to her friends and people that know. She was brave enough to confess that she is suffering from depression, and she's fighting it. This is Instagram. All her Instagram is lovely, and suddenly she publishes that. What's the feeling you get? Wow, that's the reality. The other things is also reality, of course, but the reality is the whole things combined, not just one side, not just the pretty side. There's also the bad side. So don't fall in the trap of perception being the reality. Deep dive and get the true understanding on what reality is. Social media also has some risks. These are some examples of people that lost their job because they behave stupidly on social media. Or for instance, when you're going to look for a job when you get older, or you want to get into a nice university when you get older, the first thing that people will look at, people that hire you, is your social media. So what you publish, what you say, how you behave, will be scrutinized by these people. And eventually, you will not get the job, depending on what you have done. So always take the safe side on social media. And if you want to understand how serious this game is, I just want to share with you some data. This is the valuation of companies, the big platforms. So how much money they value if we wanted to buy them on the stock exchange market, compared to the gross domestic product of some countries. The gross domestic product is the measure that measures the wealth of a country. So the richness that a country produces is the gross domestic product. Okay? In Spanish, PIB, Producto Interior Bruto, Catalan. So you can compare the main platforms. Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet is the big name for Google, Netflix, Microsoft. So you have Apple equals, and it's much larger, it's a bit larger than Netherlands. So the whole production of Netherlands, one of the richest countries in the world, is smaller than Apple. Amazon, 9 South American countries. Facebook, Argentina. Facebook is valued more than Argentina as a country. Alphabet, which is Google, 38 countries combined in Africa. Netflix, 5 Balkanic countries, and Microsoft, 8 East European countries. They are huge. Huge. And they are not neutral. They are not neutral. They are not nice guys, neutral in the context. Do you not want to know how they make the money? So, they want you to spend time on these platforms, because they get the money from advertisers, from announcers. Coca-Cola, Munich, Vans, Fortnite, you name it. So these guys pay money for advertisement. So these platforms want you to spend the most time on their platform. Because the more time you spend on their platform, the more information they get from you. Because you leave traces, what we call the footprint. So they better know you, so they can better target advertising to you. So these guys don't want the money from you. They don't want money from you. They are selling you. Because on internet there is a saying that says that if you have a service, if you get a service for free, then the product is you. For these platforms, you are the product. And the more time you spend on YouTube watching these super videos that you watch, the better they know you, and the better they can target advertisements for you, and they get the money. So you are working for them. Literally, you are working for them. How do they get you addicted to their services or their platforms? Well, they just promote content, not produced by them, by the way. They do not produce content. The content is produced by all of us. We are producing the content. And they promote this content that they think is more potential to be viral. This content you can think of very easy to digest. Content that is not complicated, content that is evident, content that makes us laugh very easily, or that makes us scandalize. So this content that they know will get viral because people like to watch. Easy content, not so elevated content. Think of the big videos you have been seeing lately, how elevated they were. And this comes the brain. The brain is the most powerful muscle we have in our body. And as all muscles, we have to exercise it to make it strong. And the brain is elastic. The brain is very sensitive to all the inputs it gets. It's the muscle that commands our body, it's a muscle that commands our will, it's a muscle that sends a signal that commands to the rest of the body to do things. So think that before any action comes the idea. Before doing nothing, first we have to have the idea in our mind. And when we have conceptualized, when you have seen the outcome of our potential action, then we do the action. So first comes the idea, although sometimes you may not know it, because many things we do just by reflex. So we just do it automatically, but first comes the idea. Because you know that you can do that, you do it. But first is the idea, and then the action. And we have been taught since we were kids how important it is to have a healthy food in our system, how important it is to eat well and not to eat junk food. So this is for our body. What about our brain? What about our brain? How are we feeding our brain? There is a concept called garbage in, garbage out. In Catalan, gigo, in English, gaigo. So if you put garbage in your brain, what do you think you will get? If you put nasty input in the system, you will get nasty outcome. So, how are you treating your brain? How are you feeding your brain? Are you feeding your brain with healthy ideas, with healthy food? Or, on the contrary, you are not treating it with hygiene? Remember, I was telling you at the beginning, we are the product and the result of everything we do. The conversations we have, the music we listen to, the music we play, the games we play, the sports we exercise, the books we read, the movies we watch, the education we have, what we study. We are the result of all this. And this is the result of how we allocate time. We are the result of the allocation of time. It's where you will devote the time to, and with whom, that you will be determined, and you will be creative as a person, and you will grow, and you will be one thing, one other thing. And this is where I'm asking you, in 5 years, 20, 25, when you become 20, and you encounter this other you that was grown up in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and you were grown up here. Which one would you prefer? Which one would you prefer? Because you see the evolution that is different. So this comes my last question. What will you do the next 5 years to be the best version of you?